gigabit speed.
Oh, yours.
Vibrant service.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us, Jeff.
You're very welcome.
And you didn't break my heart, so I'm still good.
I was kind of worried.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, this is another Vibrant You Live, and I'm Jane.
I'm Shane.
And I'm Nathan.
So it is Halloween season. So this Friday, everybody's going to go
scary.
trick-or-treating. You know, when we were growing up, it was just Halloween, right? You just had Halloween night and off you went to get as much candy as you could, right?
Yep.
Well, now there is so many activities happening. We did 3 trunk or treats last week.
Really?
Paynesville.
Holy man.
It's like
Spicer.
every town's got their own trunk or
It
treat.
does.
It's like parades.
I know.
It didn't used to be that much candy at parades. Now there is.
No, there's lots, right?
Yeah.
And so we're actually going to talk about Halloween tech and how to keep your family safe during that time. And so Shane's going to start it off with where Halloween came from.
We'll give you a little Halloween history here. So, about 2,000 years ago, the Celtics, and that's a European, up in kind of England and that direction, they had a festival of Samhain. It was called the Samhain, and it basically marked when harvest ended and the start of winter, and it was on the 31st of October. They thought that the veil between the living and the dead was the thinnest that night. Okay, so then they would have celebrations to appease the spirits. They'd have bonfires and they wore costumes, and often it's just an animal head. That was their costume, right? And then they would just kind of try to confuse the ghosts that wandered back to Earth, right? Well, in the 8th century, Christians, the Christian church designated November 1st as All Saints' Day or All Hallows' Day, with the 31st then becoming the Eve of All Hallows Day, or Hallows Eve,
That's how it started.
what is Halloween right now, okay? And for trick-or-treating, that kind of gets its roots also from Europe, where one is the medieval practice of souling, where poor people or later children would go door to door and offer prayers for the dead in exchange for soul cakes or food. Another is guising, and this is in Scotland or Ireland, where young people dressed in costume, and they perform songs or jokes or poems in exchange for food or treats.
Still do.
Yeah, exactly. It's still a tradition. And but in America, trick-or-treating kind of became popular starting in the 20s and 30s, and young kids would go around and ask for treats, and if they didn't get a treat, they would play a trick on you, kind of a thing. So that's kind of the history behind Halloween, but we want to talk about, being safe around Halloween and using some tech, and Nathan will go into some of that.
I have a question, though.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever had a trick done to you for not handing out candy or anything?
No, I have not ever had a trick. Have you?
No.
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I dared the kid. I don't have anything for you. You'll have to do a trick, and I closed the door, and yeah, it wasn't a good thing. How did I know he was going to have an egg in his pocket?
Well, there you go. There you go.
He just was waiting
history.
for somebody like you to
Right.
egg him on. Dun-dun-dun.
You got it. Egg him on.
So first, we'll talk about kind of general safety tips for Halloween. For those that just woke up from a cave yesterday, there's a lot of foot traffic on Halloween. There's a lot of people walking around. There's a lot of children walking around that aren't always looking where they're going. It's one of the busiest, if not the busiest night for pedestrian traffic on the roads and on the sidewalks and in neighborhoods. And visibility can be kind of a major issue. This time of year, of course, it's getting dark earlier and earlier. Kids aren't paying attention. So if possible, stick with neighborhoods that have sidewalks or poorly lit or have are not poorly lit and have lights and stuff like that. And it can be a good idea even to give your kids lights or put some reflective tape or something on them so they're a little more visible to cars and other people around. Also, this is pretty rare. I think we talked about this earlier today, that this has kind of been in some ways an old wives' tale, but it is possible to get tampered with or unsafe candy.
Yeah, Nathan we were talking about candy that could be tampered with, but kind of have the parents inspect the candy. Just make sure the wrappers are still sealed. Homemade items, make sure they're from known sources like your grandma, your family or whatever. Don't take it from strangers, and not because it's bad, but you just don't know. And a lot of times it's because of allergens as well.
I was going to say, get the ones that have the little peanut with the X through them.
Yeah, exactly. Because that way, with the peanut allergies that have been rampant, they're kind of tapering off now, actually, peanut allergies, but that kind of thing. Costumes can pose risks. Ones with long hems or, things that you can trip on. Mm-hmm. Masks can obstruct vision. In fact, we were talking when at a trunk or treat this past weekend, Jana and I saw a lot of kids with masks, and you couldn't see them through the masks at all. Mm-hmm. And you're wondering how much can they actually see out of those.
Well, and I think one of them was a ghost, and so they had the whole thing over their head, and then because it was so loose and moving all the time, their eyes would move, and so he couldn't see, and so he was walking around, and it wasn't a good thing. So I'm like, you better fix that.
Right. There's ones with dinosaur costumes, and they're kind of hard to walk in besides, and then they're bumping things and that kind of thing. But it's just those types of things. And weather. So Jane will go into talk about the weather.
So typical Minnesota weather, right? It's always a Halloween night, and then you have this awesome costume, and you have to put your coat on, and nobody gets to see it, right?
Right.
So, basically prepare for that. So dress in layers, and more importantly, you can utilize apps and check the weather and make sure that if it is, I don't know, are we supposed to get snow? I don't think we're supposed to get snow, but
there could be little flurries early part of the day,
anyway,
but no.
Yeah, just plan ahead and wear warm socks and nice shoes, because you're doing a lot of walking too. Mm-hmm. So, and then digital safety.
All right. Yeah, so we've talked about this before with when you're traveling, but it's not a good idea to ever post online, your home address or where you're currently at. So people like to post pictures of their costumes, and some of us share that on social media, which is a great idea. It's fun, but make sure you have your settings turned on where it's not sharing your real-time location, and that parents are monitoring social media for their kids and stuff. As we always recommend, post it the day after, or when you're all done, you're back home, post the pictures when you're out and about. Just don't share your address, don't share your real-time location. There are people out there that can take advantage of that.
Right. And there are some tech tools to keep kids safe as well. There's a lot of apps out there, and there's a lot of devices. So apps, I use Life360 with my girls, and they actually use it with their friends or their roommates and different things, and they like to keep an eye on where people are. So that's it's free. And then there's also Find My, and that's an Apple, and then there's Google Family Link.
So is that what it's called? Yeah.
Yep. So, and you can keep an eye, and I mean, I can go on my phone and look to see where Lauren and Hannah are. Yep. Yep. And then, there's setups like smartwatches. You can keep an eye with that because there's a GPS connected to that. And then there's Gizmo Watch. There's TikTok Watch.
Yeah, it's TikTok.
TikTok. Yeah. TikTok.
And then this is one that I really like. There's smart tags or Apple tags or AirTags. So you can put them in luggage. You can put them on the kid's costume. You can put them in the candy bag, and that'll just keep an eye, and in case something does happen, or if they get lost or left behind or something, you'll be able to find them really quickly. Mm-hmm. And then, we had talked about lighting. It's very important to have light and visibility too. So make sure that you have some type of personal protection on, PPE, and make sure that people can see you, and whether it be those really cool shoes that light up, or a pumpkin light, or we were handing out reflective pumpkin bags. So just look to see if you can just be aware and make sure that you guys are safe out there, or even those glow wands, that kind of stuff. Just really smart. And then and I think Nathan had mentioned reflective tape too, so it may look a little crazy, but it's safe.
just to be seen at night. And there are some safety apps that you might not be aware of. One is called Noonlight, and it's a personal safety app that's designed to help users quickly and discreetly connect with emergency services if they feel unsafe or are in danger. And so this is kind of like, instead of dialing 911, you press a button on the app. It alerts emergency services without you having to talk to somebody. So, and again, like Nathan said, it's rare, but, it could happen, especially in metro areas and that kind of thing. Nextdoor is an app, and I don't know if, it's kind of like a neighborhood app that maybe like you'd see on Facebook, a Facebook page like Life in Litchfield or that type of thing, but Nextdoor, it's an app that can alert families to local safety concerns or community events. AccuWeather and WeatherBug, make sure you keep track of the weather. Like Jane said, it can go from, a nice warm day to icy and snowy that evening. And that's happened when my kids were young. And then, you could slip on the sidewalks and that kind of thing.
That big snowstorm, what year was that?
91.
91, yep.
Doorbell cameras are another tech thing that you can use to kind of keep track of who's coming up to your door. It lets you monitor that. Smart locks can help secure your home while you're out trick-or-treating. And of course, motion-activated lights can help deter mischief and maybe deter that person from throwing that egg at your house. Right?
It wouldn't have helped here. But sure.
So Nathan he'll go over some safety tips for parents.
Yeah, so I'm a relatively new parent, so staying safe digitally is important. As I mentioned earlier, posting pictures on social media is great. Just make sure you're not posting real-time locations or your address. Wait to post until the next day if that way nobody can know where you're currently at. And online stranger danger. I know we've always talked about stranger danger in real life. If a stranger walks up to you and tries to start a conversation with your kids, make sure they know that's not okay and not normal. It's similar online. Unfortunately, I think a lot of parents don't understand, their kids maybe think they're playing video games. Well, video games have chat rooms, you can interact with other people, and unfortunately there are bad people out there. So make sure you have the settings properly set, parental control set up to limit access to chat rooms and screen time, and keep an eye on that stuff, and just make sure you educate your kids on if there's weird chats going on, to let you know, kind of thing. And then as far as device safety, set up, like I said, screen time limits. You can restrict apps. If you have a vibrant internet and you have our newest router, you can set restrictions on certain apps. Adult content, you can restrict a lot of different stuff, whether it's Halloween or not. And then you can use kid-safe browsers, or like apps like YouTube has a specific YouTube Kids app that's only going to have, kids content. I always recommend that to parents. Don't let them just on regular YouTube, because there is kids content on YouTube, but there's a ton of adult content on YouTube. So just make sure you're kind of well aware of what your kids are doing online.
So Halloween is a time to have fun and celebrate, and it's also an awareness to be safe. And so there's a lot of opportunities here, especially with technology. So costumes and masks have come a long way since the plastic ones that you put over your head back in the day.
We made our own.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's sound effects, there's voice changers, there's motion sensors. There's just a lot of excitement in there to improve visibility and whatnot. So when you're picking out your costume, if you haven't done so already, just kind of look at those ideas. And then some of the things that you can do it yourself, like we had mentioned, putting LED strips on there, or programmable lights for the costumes as well. And then there's those gadgets that are great, those flashlights that are shaped like Halloween pumpkins, or those ghosts, or those flashing wristbands, different things like that. And then there's a lot of people out there that do have allergies, and so there's an app in there called Spookin, Spokin, and it helps parents manage food allergies during the Halloween. And it's a free mobile app that you can manage food allergies and like celiac disease, and it just connects users to safe foods and restaurants and bakeries as well.
Yeah, so these safety tips are meant for parents who are with their little ones, as well as young teenagers who might be out by themselves. Even young adults. I know you might not be out trick-or-treating, but I know in my 20s we went out trick or something.
Mm-hmm.
And
now it's a Friday.
And especially on a Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, no kidding.
But, you just be mindful, be safe, and that kind of thing. And that's kind of what this is all about. Reflective tape, LED lights, tracking apps, weather apps, they're all ways to help keep you safe on Halloween.
Good.
Yep. And then we're going to draw attention to next week. We have our final Dreaming of Streaming class of 2025. So that'll be next Wednesday, November 5th, a week from today. It'll be at 5:30 p.m. at the Meeker Energy office, right on Highway 12, right kind of by Walmart. It's a free class open to the public, just kind of teaching people how to stream, why streaming might benefit them, and a lot of tips and tricks. So free class, come on out. If you have any questions about, some of the digital stay safe stuff we talked about today, or about streaming, or about Vibrant service, you can call us at 693-3231 or visit our website, vibrantbroadband.com. As always, you can check out this radio show or any previous show on our Facebook or YouTube channel. Just search Vibrant Broadband for that. And as always, listen live every Wednesday at 10:30 on KLFT.
All right. Thank you, Jeff, for having us.
You got it.
Thank you, audience, for listening. My name is Shane.
I'm Jane.
And I'm Nathan.
Tune in next week for another Vibrant You Live.
Vibrant service. Vibrant broadband internet. Vibrant broadband internet.